Hello, welcome to The Real Bit Wars. Today is the inaugural episode of a new series called Chris's Corner. Well, I'm Chris, and I guess this is my corner. Basically, the concept is this. I'm one of those rare breeds of a retro gamer that loves sports titles. When I began collecting games, one of the first things I set out to do was acquire as many different sports titles as I could get my hands on. Basically, I was on a mission to determine which ones were the best and most worth my time. So over the years I've accumulated quite a collection of these sports games, and today we're going to go over the football ones, and I'm going to let you know which ones are my favorites. The first thing I have to mention are the Madden games. Growing up, I owned some of these games, and every time I bought a new console, I always made a point to pick up at least one or two Madden titles. But this is definitely not where we're going to find my favorite game. Although I do have to give an honorable mention to Mutant League Football, which is an electronic arts game that runs on the same engine as the Madden titles. Some would make the argument that Sega's 2K Sports series was actually superior to the Madden games. I'm not really one of those people. In order to find my favorite football game, we're going to have to go a little bit further back. Or is it further ahead? Let me explain here before I go any further. You see, on the NES, there are many adored football games. Depending on who you talk to, you might get a different answer as to which one is the best. See, many people like play-action football. A lot of people also really love 10-yard fight. But my favorite series of football games was brought to us by Tecmo. Starting off in 1989 with Tecmo Bowl, which I must admit I'm only a fair weather fan of. But it was followed with the vastly superior sequel in 1991, Tecmo Super Bowl. Now this is where we're really going to get to the roots of what I love about football video games. Now this series continued on. The 16-bit era brought us a redone version of Tecmo Super Bowl, as well as Tecmo Super Bowl 2, and the appropriately titled Tecmo Super Bowl 3 Final Edition. You see, at the time they thought that was going to be the last game in the series. But in order to find my favorite Tecmo Super Bowl video game, we have to go further ahead. And no, I'm certainly not talking about this. Or this. No disrespect, they're just not on the same level as the other games in the series. You see, the Tecmo Bowl games have created this sort of subculture, and they're actually every bit as popular today, if not more popular, than they were back in their initial release. There are actually several Tecmo Super Bowl tournaments held annually, such as Tecmo Tundra Bowl in Green Bay and Madison Tecmo Tournament. Now, people actually travel from across the country to participate in these tournaments. But apart from that, there's something else that keeps these games relevant. There have also been hacks released over the years. Now, although this is a very cool concept, I must admit it never really caught my attention until I saw this. There it was, the 2012 edition of these hacks, in the flesh, transferred onto an actual NES cartridge. That's right, folks, my favorite football game of all time is a reproduction. What the hell's going on out here? Easy there. Don't get judgmental, let me explain first. Now on the surface this might seem like a cheap ripoff. Well, apart from having updated rosters and current franchises, you can swap out your selections and customize your playbook. When you couple that with the variations in each team's playbook, you are left with a seemingly endless repertoire at your disposal. Now you may recall in the original Tecmo Super Bowl, there were these dominant players, so to speak. Most notorious of the bunch would definitely be Bo Jackson of the Raiders. Apart from him, there were other players such as running back Christian Okoye of the Chiefs, and Philadelphia's QB Eagles, aka Randall Cunningham. This one took that concept and just ran with it. Almost every team has at least a couple of players that can be your go-to sort of guys. Now sometimes it makes perfect sense, such as Adrian Peterson. But other times it's a bit of a stretch. Now no disrespect, but I just don't feel that Michael Turner is quite in the same league as, say, Marshawn Lynch. Although they are technically in the same league, but you get what I mean. So it may seem a little bit odd that I like this more than the original, but you can trust me when I say that it definitely breathes new life into an old series. It's almost like playing it for the first time again, and it makes it so enjoyable that, without a doubt, this is definitely my favorite football game of all time. But thank you very much for watching Chris's Corner here on The Real Bit Wars, and stay tuned in the future because I'll be covering other sports as well. Thanks for watching, see you later.